For some of us, getting from A to B can be a bit of a struggle, partly because we really didn't want to leave A in the first place. A is where our bed lives. Even with maps and GPS, navigation can be a bit of a struggle, but we get there in the end. However, that's not the case for the wanderers on today's list. They all went AWOL, either temporarily or permanently, while they were out exploring the world. Today, it's the top 10 people who disappeared while travelling. If you want to go on an exciting adventure, you don't even need to get up. Just hit subscribe and we will invite you to come on a trip with us every time we post a video. You'll have to bring your own snacks though. Number 10. Jordan Jacobs. Thailand is a wonderful country with welcoming people and beautiful scenery. British backpacker Jordan Jacobs was enjoying the beaches of the Thai islands when he sent a message to his parents telling them he'd been kidnapped. And then, nothing. For days, his parents panicked and launched a desperate search for their lost son. Only, Jordan wasn't lost. He'd made it up and was relaxing on the beach. The following week, he confessed to his ruse and blamed it on having too much of a good time. And with that, Jordan discovered something about himself. He is a very, very bad son. Number 9. Donald Crowhurst. What do you do if you have a failing business that is in dire need of cash? In 1968, Donald Crowhurst faced that very dilemma and decided to enter the Golden Globe Round the World boat race. It had a cash prize of £5,000, an amount that could save Donald's business. Unfortunately, Donald went missing during the race due to lack of experience and preparation. It's rumoured that Donald was so desperate to come first he was falsifying his location to race officials and actually convincing everyone he was on course to win. Official records state he went missing somewhere in the South Atlantic, and 9 months after he set off, his boat was discovered unoccupied off South America. Number 8. Canadian in Iceland. In 2012, during a tour of Iceland's frozen landscapes, a group of 50 stopped at a rest area to refresh and regroup. One Canadian woman briefly left the group to have a drink and a change of clothes. She returned to a scene of panic. One of the group had gone missing and a search party had formed to scout the area for the missing traveller. Being a good citizen, she joined the party and began to search the icy wilderness. A few hours into the search, she realised the person they were looking for sounded very familiar to her in terms of appearance and outfit. This is because it was her. She had been missed off the head count, and like many a traveller before her, she had found herself on her travels. Number 7. Frank Lenz. Frank Lenz loved to ride his bicycle. So much so that in 1892 he decided to cycle round the world, an adventure that he anticipated would last at least 2 years. His family supported his plan and off he went, starting from his home in Pennsylvania. He went from North America to South America, hopped on a boat to Asia, and was last seen pedalling through the continent into the Middle East. Unfortunately for Lenz, the Middle East in the 1890s was fraught with bloody war as the Ottoman Empire rampaged through the area. Sometime in 1894, it is thought Lenz accidentally insulted a village chief in Iran and was murdered, although his body and his bike were never found. Number 6. Steve Fossett. Steve Fossett was a traveller and an adventurer in every sense. In 1995, he set off in a hot air balloon from South Korea, drifted across the Pacific Ocean and landed safely in Canada. In 2001, he and his crew broke the round-the-world sailing record by circumnavigating the globe in 58 days and 9 hours. In 2007, whilst flying across the Great Basin Desert in a light aircraft, Fossett tragically went missing. Over a year later, a crash site was discovered with the only sign of Fossett being 2 large bones half a mile from the crash. Number 5. Henry Bryan. Henry Bryan was part of Charles Stuart's party as he travelled from Sydney to Adelaide in 1835. Charles Stewart was a noted British explorer who was leading the European exploration of Australia, leading his men on horseback through the extreme conditions of the country. During one particularly ferocious sandstorm and suffering heavily from exhaustion, Stewart's travelling group got split up. Henry Bryan and his horse were lost in the sands and Henry was never seen again. This tragic story, however, has one amazing detail. Several months later, Henry Bryan's horse arrived alive and well in Adelaide, having completed the final few hundred miles of the journey alone. Number 4. John Darwin. In 2002, John Darwin was a respectable family man, a former teacher and prison officer. Tragically, he went missing as he travelled out to sea in his canoe from Hartlepool in the UK. A lengthy search took place but only found the wreckage of his canoe. It was a strange disappearance as the North Sea was unusually calm. After significant time had passed, he was declared legally dead. However, in 2008 he reappeared in the UK, having flown in from South America. He claimed to have no memory of what had happened to him. However, it was all a ruse. He had faked his disappearance and used his ill-gotten life insurance money to clear his debts and buy some Panamanian property. Stupidly, he allowed his photo to be used on the company website and was recognised, so he returned to the UK and claimed amnesia. Number 3. Lao Zi. Lao Zi, the famous Chinese philosopher and teacher, went missing in 531 BC. Dismayed by the corruption and hypocrisy he saw in Chinese society, Lao Zi saddled up his favourite water buffalo and headed for the mountains. As he stopped at the border patrol man must have sensed that this was one traveller who may not come back, so he persuaded Lao Zi to write a book before he left. That book is the Tao Te Ching, one of the most famous texts ever written. It is still read today for its philosophical lessons and is key in the teaching of Taoism, one of Asia's biggest religions. Once he had finished his book, Lao Zi headed into the wildlands of the Western Mountains with his water buffalo and was never seen again. Number 2. Petunia. Petunia is one traveller who went missing and was happily found 8 years later and reunited with her family. She had set off on her travels from the family farm in Virginia on the east coast of America. When her family realised she was gone, they searched far and wide for her, but eventually had to accept that Petunia was gone. 8 years later, Petunia reappeared alive and well, if a little hungry, on the east coast of America in California. This is some 3,000 miles from Virginia. She was taken to the sheriff's office as she was in a state of confusion. Once they had identified her, Petunia's family were contacted and they were reunited. Oh, by the way, Petunia is an 8-year-old American Bull Terrier. To this day, nobody knows how she made the incredible journey, and Petunia's not telling. Number 1. Freda Langer. The Bermuda Triangle is notorious for causing many planes and boats to go missing, but it's the Bennington Triangle that travellers should really avoid if they're going on a hike. In 1950, Freda Langer and her cousin Herbert set off on their travels by taking a hike through the Bennington Triangle, a wooded and mountainous area of southwestern Vermont. They both got very lost and became separated, with only Herbert managing to get back to civilization. Freda's remains were found a year later and her cause of death unknown. She was the 5th person to have been claimed by the Bennington Triangle since 1945, and ever since then, all travellers have been very cautious about travelling in the area. Thanks for watching another Daily Top 10's Top 10 video, and remember, it's our duty to entertain and yours to subscribe.
Hey there, did you like that Top 10 video? I know you did. You just watched it. Now you're here with me. So go hit that subscribe button so I don't have to whack you in the noodle. You don't want Sammy here whacking you in the noodle. Because you know what happens to your noodle when Sammy hits you? Bad things. It's picture an egg. You remember that? It's gross. You don't want that. You'll get it all over the computer, and you might break the internet. Anyway, subscribe. Make sure you like the channel, all that stuff. You've been on YouTube before. Just do what you know you need to do to see more videos. And hey, if you're in need